not the Rajum Tojo. The Jajan Jongo and Rajum Tojo. She don't jump back, so do my tongue, swimming too much as in the swimming too much again. No good to go set. Don't you remember?
So thus Buddha has conquered the mind of somebody who has such great attachment and lust, and also somebody who has such great ignorance or stupidity, and in the same way he has conquered the great the person with a great hatred, like the Angulimala, the man who was wearing the garland of human fingers, who has killed under the instruction of a wrong master. He has killed altogether 999 people, and wearing a garland of the hands of those people. And then he met the Buddha, and Buddha conquered him and made him also an arhat. So like that, Buddha, out of his very skillful methods, there's no one which Buddha really cannot help. When the right time and the right moment comes, there's no one which Buddha cannot help. So those were two great qualities of the Buddha. One who is free from all obstacles, and who is fully qualified in showing the right method or the right means to help other sentient beings. And the third great quality is who is endowed with a great compassion, all-pervading compassion. So the compassion is all-pervading without discrimination, that even somebody is cutting the body from the left side, cutting from piece by piece, and somebody else who is making offerings from the other side, and putting perfume on the and giving massage and so on on the other side. Buddha's compassion is completely equal between those two, regardless of their completely different treatment. Let alone Buddha, even bodhisattvas have their compassion has no discrimination at all. And in the same way, Buddha helps equally anybody, whether someone asks for help or not. If the time comes, whether that person asks for, seek the help or not, Buddha helps anyway, spontaneously. So those are the great qualities of the Buddha, and the real the secrets of the Buddha, or the profound qualities of the Buddha, cannot be explained, and they are beyond our comprehension. Even the qualities of the bodhisattvas are already so vast and profound, is beyond our capacity. However, Buddha has endowed with those qualities, so therefore there is no superior refuge or protector than the Enlightened One.
다 산제게 제가 나타도 지신 거래. 다양 말아서 저번에는 추연다 면다 먹고 배 랑게 소리라베 추정 송게 시야베 추 가시가 살로당에 추만 부여를 강고로 지 해쳐지 점루지 스비요리 점내데 장바당 자시다 원슈다 세메지 보다 드레려야 저주게 먹어요.
And so those are the qualities of the Buddha, the refuge, the ultimate refuge. And that is important for us to know the those qualities and the life of the Buddha. And now there are other refuges like the worldly spirits or gods, where people in the world take refuge in many different ways. They take refuge in gods, worldly gods, samsaric gods like Indra, Brahma, and the sun, moon, and so on. Many different refuges like that. So there was an incident when God in Tritrimsha, in the heaven of 33, who is called Lord Tempa, and he was near the end of his life, and usually the gods, by karmically, they have certain like a forecast of their death and where they are going to take birth. And so he has this dying God has foreseen that he is going to be born as a human being, and as he will take rebirth in 7 different, not human being, but in 7 different forms in the world, and then will go to a hell realm. Then he got so scared of seeing this future, and so he ran to their Lord, the god Indra, the king of the Tritrimsha, the Lord of Tritrimsha, and asked for help. And the Lord of Tritrimsha, Indra, is being a god and Lord of a god, he had also certain powers like clairvoyance and so on. But however, he was lacking the real power or the capability to help somebody, to lead somebody out of the samsara. So the Indra then checked what sort of what sort of 7 different forms this god is going to take, and he realized the first is a monkey, then a pig, then a snake, and like there are 7. There are altogether 7 such unpleasant forms this god is going to take, and then end up in hell realm. And then the god Indra told him that it is I am the owner or the lord of the Kama Dhatu, the world of desire, but not above. And also I'm very limited in my capacity to help you really to change your future existence. So therefore I would take you to the fully enlightened Buddha who is still present at that time. And so he took him to the Buddha. And Buddha has given at that time a teaching, a mantra, has given a mantra which is called the mantra, the long mantra of the Ushnika Vijaya, which we recite still, and that long mantra of Vijaya is given to that God. And also he 1 week is still left till the end of his life. So during that time, then he recited these mantras so much and practiced the meditation very seriously. And so by the power of these mantras, then his life is extended for a very long time, for thousands of years, and he lived as a god, and in that very life attained the Arya stage. And so like that, or even those the great samsaric gods or spirits also take refuge themselves, take refuge in the fully enlightened ones. So there was a great Indian master who was called Totsun Tubje in Tibetan, and he had two brothers. He had two brothers. Or something. No. And both of them were very great scholars, very intelligent, and they were all devotees, or they were all practicing the rites of the gods. And then they were so intelligent, so they were not only studying their own doctrine or their own text, but they were also they studied the sutras, the Buddhist sutras, and there they realized they have seen all the great qualities of the Buddha, and they are not just merely sort of made up like that, but they are all based on perfect reason and right logical reason and so on. So by seeing this, then they had discussions. And then they had a great discussion, and one was thinking that the Buddha was sort of greater, and his the teaching is more sort of accurate or more valid. The other one was still very strongly holding to his own previous views, so they had a great dispute or discussion. So finally they went to their mother, who was also a scholar. So they went to her to decide. And then she told them that this is beyond her capacity to judge or to decide. So she gave them certain siddhis, certain siddhis powers, and with this, they could actually go to the abode of the god Ishvara in the place of in the mountain of Kailash, and where they and who can actually make the decision.
하자는 수수이마 메도도 가지가스 아주 온주고 요위 메도도는 더리 온주고 최유 된데시 마고 된데시 된데 최가 표시하나 표 메도 표를 했죠.
And then with the help of these siddhis, the siddhi they have attained, then they went to the abode of the Ishvara, and before reaching to the actual abode, then they met celestial maidens who were collecting flowers and herbs and so on, and then these maidens have told them that they were collecting these flowers because Ishvara is going to receive great sages who he is going to make the offerings and worship those sages, and for them they were collecting these flowers.
아니 암세 온주 치고도 알아서 못이 버게 제번에 다 도리 다 그런 게 야 줘서 순대지요 인도서 다 이내 레도 여자 개체티 초래서 야 친구들.
So they a little bit doubt, it was suspicious who the Ishvara, the gods, is still worshipping the god and still worship something still higher or something superior, and anyway they went to him.
아니 야 진짜 아니 군나한테는 소다도 두고 소다가 야쇼 되듯 건거치는 샤 소다요 소다로 너무 친구 인해지 배나 제주에 살아 원주도 전에 오마스는 원주에 주말에 소다도 원주에 세래 저는 너무 좋아요 괜찮죠 대 소다가 세래 원주에 세래 그런서 너무 집어래 대상자 안에 그게 너무 지나요 괜찮대 아무 지나요 괜찮대 나와래요 아데레시자 다 런chen 나요에 소다기 가나바디 시리어야 알아 대 군주야치 대자 또 소는 한 원주군야치 제가 또 한군이 원주를 가리시오 지르바다 나와지 최대 수성들이 했어 제어리.
So first they have encountered Ganapati or Ganesha, when they reached to the divine mention of the Ishvara, and the Ishvara has two children. One is Ganapati, with the elephant head, and then there is there's another one with the youth with 6 faces. That are the 2 children, and their mother, the consort of Ishvara, is Uma. So that is the family of this god, and so these 2 scholars met Ganapati first, and who told them to wait, and after he has taken them to see the Ishvara, the god.
나는 거리 아그레 티자 온주게 신데상로 돈나네 마이 아그레스 저는 말이 저는 제가 신데를 제가 소모래 당 도브레스 시차데 상로 돈은 저랑 받자 마이 랑어요 말이 대매상에 상제기 네 투수들이 내내 쉬네 제가 표고요 예정하자 되는 쉬샤요 스체네 어토시로.
And so they brought up their case to the Ishvara, and then Ishvara told them that if you are seeking goals in this lifetime, I am fully capable. I can give you all the powers and siddhis or blessings, whatever someone asks. But if it goes beyond this lifetime, for the future, then I myself, as a god, is also dependent to the help of the enlightened ones who are free from all the delusions and from all obstacles. And so therefore, on this very day, I am also engaged in receiving a great number of great arhats, and to worship them. That's all. Doing it for the sake of my own future. So therefore, if you are looking further than this lifetime, then you should also take refuge in the fully enlightened one.
산제의 연대 현대 미래의 나머지 중원에 도저 빈자 gemba게 제발 파트 좀 빈자 중원게 살리 필요한 거 산제를 더 니티서 요리 배셔 요리 더 가나마 지 로저 수시지 요리 현대 미래의 로지 도수 요리 저는 다 예만 먹고 셔 먹어지
And so then, after then they were fully convinced, and they returned to their home, and then they started composing many texts. And each of the brother has composed a very famous praise to Buddha. One is called Kyabje and one is called Phale Puljung, and which are still being studied and can be recited. Very beautiful verses, two of them, and they have also composed many other texts, and they have converted themselves to Buddhism.
그러게 송대나래 다네 산제 초민지 스르자소라 메당요 강시 리버 데메치 드니에 돈바 용순지 스정에 산제도 초신 메제 스르자소 모티발 메메 마가야 메제 메제데 산 전에 코 수야다 마야 리버 양다게 람네 때는 원데 저네게 기베로 저메바 연내요게 언딩에 저
So it's these praises starts that in one of these prayer it starts with that I am not I will not be biased of to the Buddha to the Buddha, nor I would have any nothing against, have nothing hatred to those other masters like Kapila and so on. Yet I take refuge in in someone who has accomplished all the virtuous qualities and who is free from all the obstacles. In such an object I take refuge, and then all the qualities of the Buddhas follow. So although there exist methods, there exist meditations and practices and many different types of samadhis, and to attain various powers like clairvoyance and this and that through other techniques of meditations, the other techniques of samadhis as they are taught or practiced by great rishis and so on. But all these powers and these attainments, they're still bound to the cyclic existence and bound to their means to attain very high stage in the samsara, and to attain certain status of God and so on, and there doesn't exist a real method to transcend the cyclic existence, to liberate completely, to go out of the conditioned existence of rebirth. So with these, then one should realize, one should understand the fully enlightened.
야 정고래 마도 세제 치는 치를 제사요 말이 세제기 저자 농사요 말이 최랑 수년에 제주도 봐 줄이진 산제 관람 나오신 그 산제서 시작을.
So the true way, the principal way which Buddha really can help, or enlightened one can help somebody, is through showing the truth, through giving the teaching of the Dharma, through showing the Dharma. There's no other way. It's like leading somebody, taking him by hand and then placing him in enlightenment, or just fighting with the delusions or something of the delusion of the person and so on. There's no such method. The only way is through showing the dharma to the sentient beings and lead them, establish them to the state of enlightenment. So the Dharma, the teaching of the Dharma, there are two, in two levels. There's teaching, the verbal teaching, which Buddha, or enlightened one, teaches. And then a disciple hears this teaching, receives this teaching, learns this teaching, and put it into practice. And by putting it into practice, then the disciple himself attain the realization inward in one's own mind. And so that is called the Dharma of the realization, the inner Dharma. And this comes from the Dharma of the teaching, or the verbal teaching. So those two levels of the teaching, the verbal teaching and the Dharma of the realization, that is the second refuge, the refuge of Dharma. And so with the help of the Dharma, when the beings attain a certain state on the path, from when one attains the full confidence that there's no more degeneration, no more falling back into unfortunate status and so on. And so when someone reaches that status, that stage on the path, then that person becomes a sangha, then becomes a real true sangha. So that which is the third refuge. So So those are the three objects of refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And then one should, in the way of taking refuge, Je Tsong Rinpoche has explained yesterday with the example of that criminal who was seeking help from somebody. And so, in the same way, when someone takes refuge in the Triple Gem with a full heart, with full confidence in them, to liberate or to rescue oneself from the danger of the unfortunate realms, with this objective in the mind, if one takes refuge in the Triple Gem, that is called taking refuge in the manner of being with a small scope. So this refuge is already valid. It is a true refuge. It is a valid refuge, way of taking refuge. However, it is not complete. It's not enough, because by taking refuge in such a way, although one attains freedom from the unfortunate realms and gain a status, higher status like rebirth, human rebirth or the Deva rebirth or something like that, it is still a very temporary freedom. It's a temporary goal, because as Rinpoche explained before with those examples, one is still subject to degeneration, subject to fall back any time if one accumulates the wrong cause. So by understanding the complete the suffering of the samsara, not only of those obvious sufferings of the unfortunate realms, but the complete suffering of all samsara, of all realms in the cyclic existence. And so with this understanding, if one takes refuge in Triple Gem as a means to attain full liberation, nirvana, full liberation from the bondage of samsara, then we are taking refuge according to the manner of a medium person with medium scope. So, as a result of such a renunciation and taking refuge in such a manner, or even if we attain the liberation from the samsara and attain the state of an arhat, that is a very that's a very big step. However, it is still not complete, because even if one becomes an arhat, one is still very different, much inferior to the fully enlightened ones in every respect, in the qualities of the compassion, the wisdom, the power to help others, and so on. One is still very limited in every respect. So therefore, the real ultimate goal which we should seek is the full enlightenment state of Buddhahood. And so with that objective in the mind, if one takes refuge in the Triple Gem, then we are taking it according to the great vehicle or the great person. And so although the motivations are different and the manners are different, but the object of refuge is always the same. There's no different. That's the Triple Gem, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So, so actually we have reached today to the medium scope and the practice of medium scope. However, Rinpoche still stressed very much on the refuge, because this is a very important point in the practice of Dharma. It's a very important foundation for the practice of Dharma. So when one takes refuge, then what is indispensable is to have this consideration, or this kind of rightful sort of fear we have towards the sufferings. That is one cause of the refuge, which is important to. And in this, secondly, then we need the full confidence or full trust in the Triple Gem, not being a mind with 2 point or doubtful, but with full confidence and trust. That is, so those two, this consideration of the sufferings and the confidence in the Triple Gem are two very important factors in taking refuge. So with these two causes, with these two factors in mind, when one completely give oneself to the Triple Gem, rely completely on Triple Gem in every circumstance or situation, or that sort of attitude of giving in completely is the actual refuge. That is the meaning of refuge.
양배 레세야 그러나 도부 용고요 된다. 야사 레비 도사 레비 강한 종래 군조랑 이체 다 된다 얘는 지와 치면 손은 좀 먹고 지나로 나 무슨 게 그수로 지나 지금 충분히
So with such a motivation and consideration for the sufferings of the lower realms, when one entrusts oneself completely in the triple gem, in every situation, in good situation or in a bad situation, rely completely, then we are taking refuge in the according to the lower scope.
다 내손에 다 지게等于学呀个基本认都没好过呢，可那那别么可的主要就让钱上不着，记呢都呢搞钱那边我就让钱，就那样呢可的主头发这个呗，头些上不去基本认就。
And with the same sort of attitude, mind, with the same trust, when one takes refuge in triple gem, asking for the goal of liberation, complete liberation from the samsara, we are taking refuge in the medium way.
당연히 배출사的协议，听这个两个就上年那年说要听了头的，后来我这当头那个介绍人可能全上头去，所以他得另外个上年听什么个是，他可以也是叫父母的人搞当，父母钱还给没吧，大概没事别个的话，别那，阿里讲了几千呢，可能俺说如果我对吧讲头吧，也会去用个吧。
So like that criminal, when we take refuge in the triple gem, then although we have in the past accumulated many unskillful, unwholesome causes for different sufferings, but by entrusting oneself in the triple gem, and so by this attitude, by purifying these causes, these heavy causes of suffering, then one sort of gets away, or one gets a relief from the suffering.
That is thing that tired ready. That German thing gets you. Yes, I know you may say that you think it in, yeah, I think too. There now you get good job to my, more than get your to my, more than get your cousin, Madame Mother stuck with think medicine, more than the Hagama.
So, like the criminal who gets away from the punishment which was waiting for him with the help of somebody, but now what is very important for him is never to make the same mistake again, to commit the crime again. If he keeps repeating the same thing, then there is the danger will constantly will also repeat like before. So this determination not to commit the same mistake in the future is very important. So when one takes refuge in the triple gem, it's not enough just taking refuge in the triple gem. What the precept of taking refuge, the commitment of taking refuge is not to indulge in unwholesome actions again. So this is the hard point. It is a difficult point because our self being under the influence or under the power of delusions, which we have still not abandoned, we now and then we accumulate different karma, unwholesome actions, but we still must take care as much as attentive as possible, and then even if we commit some unwholesome actions, instead of just leaving it like that or forgetting about it, we should take refuge again and try to purify them.
가내야 좀 연대지 처럼 저로 나서 좀 치수로 돼야 돼. 저는 너를 다가는 이제 심게 처럼 도르스 다 처럼 신에서 맞잖아. 이게 저는 뭐네
So with this, with such a attitude in the mind, if one recites, if one says these the words of refuge, like we have done this morning, I go for refuge in Buddha Dhamma Sangha, or in many, there are many different ways. When one says them with this kind of attitude in the mind, then these words becomes real verbal refuge. But the actual refuge is the inner mental attitude. So the taking refuge is something which is very needful, which is something necessary at all time in the practice of the Dharma, from the beginning till the goal. The practice of Dharma begins with refuge. So you should take this the refuge as a very important practice, an important point, and you should still learn further about this from the teachers here. In one way, you are in a country very far away from the centers of the Dharma, the practice of Dharma is seldom in such vast country. But on the other hand, you are all very fortunate because you have such a wonderful teacher, Geshe, with you, and there are also other Geshes and Tulkus and so on around you. So you have a great opportunity, possibility to learn all those important things anytime if you wish. So when one takes refuge, a very important thing is first to know the qualities, the real qualities of the Buddha Dharma Sangha, of the object of refuge. When one understands the real quality, then refuge comes automatically. It's important to know all the qualities of the Buddha, such as the qualities of Buddha's body, speech, and mind. For example, the qualities of the Buddha, although there's a statue, it is only a symbol of the Buddha, but the body of the Buddha is beyond our perception or beyond our comprehension. It is not something which is physical, or not material and physical, like we perceive, like we think, but it's rather like it's something like the flame, like the flame. It is pure in its nature and radiant, free from every obstacle, and it is endowed with all the auspicious signs, major and minor auspicious signs, each with a very great significance and a great meaning. So, in short, Buddha's body has such great power, great quality. So we need to know those for our refuge. And in the same way, the speech of the Buddha, the true speech of the Buddha, is not like our speech, ordinary speech. It has 64 different qualities. Our speech, ordinary speech, how skillful one may be, still it's full of mistakes, full of faults, such as contradiction and repetition, and also unclearness or irrelevant, and many faults like that. All our speech is full of this kind of fault, and sometimes even one says something out of very good motivation, it may not suit or fit that other person, and so on. But Buddha's the speech, the pure speech of the Buddha, is free from all these kind of faults of the speech, and it is penetrating. It is something which suits with everyone. And for example, that king who actually, yesterday Rinpoche gave the story of that king who sent this wild elephant on Buddha. This king Ajatashatru, later he ended up killing his own father, King Bimbisara. He has killed his own father. So although Bimbisara was such a great king, and especially to his son, he was very, very kind and shown great kindness, but this Ajatashatru, being under the wrong guidance or influence of Devadatta, then he put his father in the prison. So actually there are many details about this story which is very significant, but which has no time. It may take too much time. However, that finally the father died in the prison, and so the Ajatashatru at the end was repented very strongly. He was in a very deep depression of the mistake what he has done. So when he is in that deep depression, then his brother, who is a physician, who is called Jivaka, the doctor Jivaka, then came and said, now you should go to, if you repent that much, then you should go to the enlightened one, to the Buddha, who is still around, and seek his help. But then he said, I can't go because I am such a great criminal, and I would be too embarrassed to go to a Buddha, which is such a great master, such a wonderful master. I wouldn't dare to be near him. And so he was so depressed, and at the end he went to see Buddha, but with such a humiliation, such a so depressed, and he didn't dare to go straight to Buddha. He was sort of sort of sneaking into the house and just sitting there at a corner somewhere, and Buddha immediately realized his presence, and then he very peacefully said, "Oh, welcome, great king." And then the Ajatasattu thought, "Now this is surely not me. I am not anymore a great king. I am a criminal." And he was just looking around whether there was some other king or somebody else, but there was nobody else, no other king. Then again Buddha said second time, "Oh, welcome, great king." But he again didn't dare to answer. And then at third time, then he realized that Buddha really was saying it to himself, to him. And of course, an ordinary person or a teacher would then say, "Oh, this is you have done a big mistake, and you shouldn't kill your father," or he would say something like that. There wouldn't be anything else to say. But Buddha, out of his great skill, instead of saying that, then he said, the fathers and mothers are the object, are to be killed, and also the great towns and cities are something to be destroyed, and so on. There are a few more phrases like that he said, and he said with a deep significance, so it didn't hurt his ear immediately. It didn't contradict immediately his mind, who was in a very big depression. If Buddha said, "Oh, it's pity that you have killed your father," then he would suffer very greatly. That would be end of him. And so instead, Buddha said, the father and mother deserve to be killed. Then he that gave him some sort of courage or some relief to his mind. And of course, Buddha's speech, not only just he said it, but it is very soothing, very calm, and very pacifying. In such a way, he said that, and he was so content, and his mind became very calm, very peaceful, and he was satisfied with this teaching he has received, and he went back to his palace, and then he contemplated very much on this, what really Buddha meant, and on this teaching. He again and again meditated on it. And then he meditated and meditated on this meaning, and then he realized the true meaning, and which is not literal, that to kill father and mother, that is it is impossible. But he understood the true meaning, that is the father and mother, the word father and mother applying to the two levels of the grasping for the ego, the grasping for the self, and these are to be completely destroyed. And the city and the town also applies to the realms of the samsara, and the cycle of the cycle of samsara is something which must be destroyed, which must be eradicated. And so he understood all this meaning, and he and by contemplating on this meaning of the truth, then he has attained Arya stage in that very life.
다다가 나요 상제 군들이야 미치게 가지 수위는 내지 송 미니게 수위는 내지 되요 매자 담바게 또가 만다가 자 담바 수위 안에 상제 송지 나와다 라라 수수게 가가 고니 심len지 아버지 강가를 배래 또든지 들리지 마도 상제는 대바되게 당연히 로를 줘야 해요 말
And also a distinguished quality of the Buddha speech is if a few different people come and ask different questions, the Buddha gives one answer, and that actually answers all their questions in their own ways, and they understand it in their own way, in their own languages and so on. So Buddha doesn't need to make the effort of answering each question in separately. So these are the very distinguished or extraordinary qualities of the Buddha, which is difficult to comprehend for an ordinary mind.
다 투지연의 상제의 고송 투인자 투대가들에서는 투지연의 데라다 쳔바 제원과 틀레시아르보다 투지연의 사메데서 니지 시아르부 딘데베 타야버부지 요르디 지단이 와도 셰니 배천날다 요르 수나가디야도 요르디 대시하게 되나 아니 세상말을 고타고 말해 람지도 셰지죠.
So the mind, the quality of the Buddha mind is also so numerous and so vast, such as the 21 great qualities of the Buddha, or the 3 qualities of the Buddha, the wisdom, the compassion, the power, and so on. So there are so many, which cannot be explained in a short time. However, which you will explain this afternoon, a few principal ones. So that's all for this morning. So
상제의 고유의 송의 투지 송의 대의시
So the qualities of the Buddha's speech been already explained this morning.
다 투지연의 데라 투지연의 데라 첨바다 저원이 있잖아. 첨배연의 저원의 니지 첨배연의 데라 상제의 투리 배매천의 치상은 매봐. 정말로 알아서베 수수가 지다 대원나 저배 진짜 상제가 무슨 천신마치.
So Buddha's the qualities of enlightened mind can be summarized in two aspects. That is the wisdom aspect of the mind and the compassion aspect. And the wisdom aspect of the mind of the Buddha, the wisdom aspect of the mind of the Buddha means the omniscient or the all-perceiving the factor of Buddha mind, which can perceive all phenomena without exception, so clear and so direct and clear in their true nature, and so clear and direct as if we look into our palm of the hand. For example, the omniscient mind of the Buddha can see so clear and precise every phenomena. For example, if everything in this world, the mountain and the plain, and the wood, everything is burned, and they turn into ash, and if that is put into the ocean, and it's stirred for a long time, and after if we ask the Buddha to identify all the dust of the particles of that, Buddha could, out of his precise and penetrating mind, he could tell exactly each particle that this comes from, it was this and that, it was from that mountain or from that particular earth and that spot. He could identify everything very precisely without any failure. And also when Buddha works for the benefit of other sentient beings, since his mind is since his mind has this quality of perceiving, the Buddha's perception is not gradual but simultaneous, which means he perceives the phenomena simultaneously all the time at one time, without this gradual process like our mind. Therefore, while he is helping somebody, he can also help other sentient beings at the same time without forgetting them, or without having to wait. And also when Buddha mind when Buddha manifests in different forms, Buddha mind can manifest in countless different forms for the benefit of sentient beings, but it doesn't require any effort, any intention, any thought. They all manifest spontaneously according to the need of the sentient beings. For example, Shakyamuni Buddha, who came to the world, is one manifestation. It's a Nirmanakaya. Nirmanakaya means a manifest body. So the true body, the actual body, the physical form of the Buddha is a Sambhogakaya, which is beyond the perception of an ordinary mind, which resides in the abode of Akanishta. For example, in case of Buddha Shakyamuni, the Sambhogakaya Vairocana, residing in the abode of in the pure abode of Akanishta, and then sending the manifestation as Shakyamuni or in any other forms. Of course, Shakyamuni forms like Shakyamuni is a superior form. sort of extraordinary form, the Nirmanakaya, but also Buddha can manifest or appear in very ordinary forms according to the need of the sentient being. Even nowadays, Buddha can manifest. There are many manifestations of Buddha in the form of ordinary people, like masters, or like ordinary person, man or woman, and in form of animals and bird, and even sometimes, if necessary, in some very like evil, in form of evil, very evil beings, if necessary. So that is beyond our judgment. So Buddha Shakyamuni, who has shown the manifestation of what is called Supreme Nirmanakaya, Chogaturku Supreme Nirmanakaya, which is an extraordinary human form. And so those fortunate beings, those who had the fortunate karma to see that, to have contact with that, had a direct contact, had a direct relation and direct contact with that form of Buddha at that time. So Shakyamuni Buddha has shown shown a manifestation which which fits the mind of ordinary people of that time. He has taken the birth as a human being, first like an ordinary human being, remaining in the womb of the mother, and after coming out from the right side of the mother, and then growing step by step, growing up step by step, and gradually learning the necessary